Welcome to another Vista Trekker adventure. Welcome to the channel where we try to bring the adventure home.
Remember the signals from there?
Yep. Thumbs up faster, thumbs down slower, tap your head, stop.
In this episode, a neighbour and I throw our kids in the sea, pull them underwater, and then examine why our boat did not sink despite a technical failure of a piece of equipment designed to prevent exactly that kind of adventure. We will find out exactly what went wrong, discover an easy fix, which I wish I knew before. So we'll share that here, and we'll also figure out exactly how much fuel this day took. There's a lot of potential for error in this adventure. We'll discuss that, and as much as I understand it so far, we'll talk about what we learned in this new to us endeavour.
I will be your shield in the fiercest battle. I'll defend you from all these arrows, and the sword I wield will keep you from danger. Let me be your shield.
The launch was a little tricky. The tide was down at 1 metre, which is the lowest I can launch here in Rush. Even at this shallow depth, the boat could float, although I had to reverse the trailer off the side of the slipway and onto the sand because of the ledge at the slipway's end. Also, with our weight on board, the boat was sticking on the bunks. This morning was one of those days that convinced me that I would ultimately have to switch from bunks to rollers. That whole conversion will come in a later episode. Being able to launch at a lower tide, and so before or after the crowd, is an advantage, but it is hard wearing when launching in a sandy environment on bunks.
Why does that big black thing at me?
Ropes for towable inflatables float to help stay away from the propeller. No harm to choose a high visibility colour too. I'm also using a compressor that I usually use for adjusting tyre pressure if off-road with the Land Rover. It's probably a bit too heavy duty for this job. I'm a little worried about battery drain, so I make sure the motor is running and therefore charging when I connect the battery to this compressor. Was as fine a spring morning as we could have hoped for. With the tide so low, we took it slow down the channel until we crossed the bar, which is in places even shallower than the channel is at the boat ramp. Across the bar, we opened up the throttle and headed out to sea. There are a lot of regattas and so on that go on near the mouth of this estuary, so we headed out east towards Land Bay and more open water for towing the Doughnut. Rigid inflatable boats are popular in Ireland because of their highly compartmented survivability and also tolerance for rough weather. Weather is a near constant challenge, or at least variable here. Ribs are great as well for keeping little fingers safe when manoeuvring alongside, but also in particular if the rigid section is aluminium, they are very light. This 5.5 metre aluminium rib weighs 400 kilograms excluding the engine, so the power to weight ratio with the Suzuki 100 makes easy work of all that I could ask of it out here today. After a bit of fun, we brought the rig to a halt and began to set up the Doughnut. Tom has done this before, so he'll go first. He's not quite big enough yet to reach across the full width of the Doughnut handles, so the Doughnut hauls out to starboard because of his offset weight. Still, by holding it turned to port, we got some good speed out of it, and the little eyes on board looked on with growing enthusiasm.
Do you want Owen to hop in with you and we'll go really slow for a bit? Just while Owen gets used to it.
Owen was up next and joined Tom on the Doughnut.
Down there and you can kind of feed it up. Yeah, that's what you right. Yes, okay. Roughly, yeah. Okay. Just constantly watch it, and if somebody falls in, because you know sometimes you'd be watching where you're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do this. No. Is it fun though? Yeah. Have you ever fallen off before? Nope. Go super fast! Yes!
With two aboard, it was nicely balanced in roll, but it took a little while for the Doughnut's crew to get their combined weight far back enough, and so it behaved a bit like a submarine more than once.
You got to get your weight off the back, guys. Now you're on it.
Hurry up, drop your feet back. There we go.
These boys are on the small side for this particular towable, hence the issue. It's hard for them to get their body mass far back enough from the handles. However, they both persevered and pretty soon they were on their way. I am new to this sport, so I was not majorly focused on cameras this trip. One GoPro failed and the other battery died. It breaks my heart that I lost the footage of the twins and the Doughnut together. They were absolutely hilarious and as brave as you like. That memory will have to remain the treasure of those who were aboard that day. When I winched the boat onto the trailer, I noticed a little extra weight, and this would reveal a problem. The Nividic 550 competes in the market with the Highfield 540. The 540 has a dry, self-draining deck and can carry a 115 horsepower motor, where this is limited to 100. The downside is that the Highfield is heavier, but also the Highfield is not sold here in Ireland, and I wanted to buy a boat from someone I could get back to if I had an issue, and that's what happened today. So I just want to try and explain how all this works, looking at the boat here undercover this time. But so in there you can see for perspective the whole hull, and the deck here through to here is at a common level, and everything beneath that is one compartment. So it means that you could pour water in way up there in the anchor locker and it will appear in here, and beneath here is the bilge pump. So you have two options. This boat will float with the deck just ever so slightly above the water level, but if you fill it up with a lot of people, it can end up with the water coming back in through here, which is designed to drain the water at speed. So the two options would be A, you leave these open, and as you're speeding along, any water that's taken on board will fall out both sides and over there as well. Or you can block these off and then open this one up, and then any water that comes on board will go down there, nothing will come back in here, and it'll be drained out using the pump and evacuated through that hole there. So if you want dry feet on board, you'll use this option, and if you want to remove big volumes of water, you'll use this option. Now, as you can see here, the trouble I have with where we launch is that there's a lot of sand. It's very hard to avoid the sand build up, and then I don't like the sand going down into the internal compartment because it'd be very hard to get it out of there. So I tend to use this option, but it can mean that you have a little bit of water sitting on deck, which doesn't matter when everybody's in a wetsuit. But these compartments are all just bolted on, so where the bolts run through, you can get a little bit of water goes down, and it goes down into the pump, and so the pump needs to work anyway, and that's why the compartment fills up. And on this day when the pump did not work, and then we took on some additional, let's call it ballast. Here is a diagram of the same setup. Although the tubes constitute 6 separate inflated compartments, the hull itself is one compartment from stem to stern between the outer hull and the deck. If this compartment were to flood, as shown, then it would be pumped out through the stern, as shown. It is normal enough for ribs to take on a certain amount of water, but if the pump fails, it is not that the boat will sink if you crack a plate or punch a small hole on a rock, but it may leave you unnecessarily heavy and affect your ability to make your original destination. Realizing that the boat was too full of water on the slip, I again filled it on the trailer to test the pump, and the pump was then confirmed to be inoperative. So I filled this up with water just with a hose pipe in through the anchor locker.
and it's not pumping out. Nothing coming out the bilge.
So as I said, I bought the boat in Ireland so that I could have a contact if the boat were to fail. And here's my phone message that I sent to Brian at the horsepower workshop.
Question for you, Brian. This battery here is showing 12.9 volts. This fuse I've just checked and it's intact. There you can see, but the bilge pump is underwater and it's pumping nothing. Any ideas?
Experience is everything. He was able to tell me immediately what the problem was. The problem was far simpler than my diagnostics would have suggested. The float switch was jammed. In this video you can see sand in the bilge, but also aluminium drilling swarf washed back out of the hull from the boat assembly process. I suspect it was either sand or some of these pieces of aluminium that blocked the float. In any case, it was easily cleared. It's such an easy fix that I should have figured it out myself, but then if I watched this video first I surely would have, hence a share. And finally, remember I said we would figure out the fuel for this day out. So let's have a look.
So here is the moment of truth. It was 20 before we went out. I think that's like 4 litres per day out. Towing the Doughnut, pretty good.
I remember when I bought this boat, my wife asked me if I was excited, and I said, not yet. I'm excited about getting to the point one day where I know this boat inside out, and then I will truly love it. Then I will go places with a confidence and mindset that only that knowledge can bring. I'm another step closer to that goal today.